3, 2, and uno.
You have no idea how much I have been looking forward to today because on my end, none of this involves a computer. On my end, he has to deal with computers. I don't want to deal with computers anymore today at all, ever. I'm done. It's been a week.
Today is low tech day?
Yesterday was Monday. So was every other day this week. Monday. Me and tech have not gotten along this week. One update has just... Never mind. I'm here to paint today. And we're painting fresh strawberries today. This is a fun one. I decided that I wanted to go back to some very basic design elements that we generally do with beginners. And strawberries are one of those things because it's sort of your basic fruit. Everybody knows what it is. It's pretty hard not to make it look like a strawberry, but it's one of those things. It has some very basic techniques involved in it. So I went back to that. We're going to do some basic script lettering, and we're going to have a little bit of fun with a stencil, but I'm also going to show you how to freehand border. So I know that's scary, but I do have some tricks to do it so that you get a nice clean border. And so that's what we're going to cover today. And then just some fun little techniques, and we'll gab about a few things. And I even have a new recipe for you guys. Just saying. I've got a nice new recipe going up on my website this afternoon that I think you're really going to enjoy. I know I've been enjoying it because I've already eaten one jar of it. Just saying. So we are going to paint and play, but before we get to that, let's talk about our giveaways for today. We have a set of Dynasty Faux Squirrel brushes, a 4-brush set, sorry. And some other fun little goodies tucked in there. We have, I'm not sure what else is in there. I know there's some fun little goodies in there anyway. Oh, I know what it was. We have a fabulous wooden frame in there. Really pretty with a nice little surface for you to paint. Plus we have some other little goodies from both Renee and myself, including some of our new stickers. I'm just so tickled about the new stickers. And I got a new sticker this week. That shipment came in the other day, and it's a zombie cookie. I had a zombie cookie made for you guys. So you have a zombie cookie sticker in there as well as an artist pin. Everybody should have one. If you pick up a brush, you're an artist. So we got an artist pin. So let's say good morning to a few people. Oh my goodness, this thing is moving. Holy Moses. Cindy Nez is on. Hello, Cindy. And Mary Davis. Hello, my dear. Cindy Brayton and Fogg. Hello. Happy Saturday again. I know. I feel the same way, Anne. I was so glad to get to Saturday. I've had like the tech week from hell. Oh goodness, that was a 4-letter word. And Sydney Marler. Good morning. Oh my heavens, everybody's here today. I'm so glad to see you guys. Kelly Williams from Montana. Oh my stars. And who else? Linda Salsini from Northern Michigan. And Shelby Thomas. Hello, Shelby. And Beverly and Bonnie Duncan. I'm so happy to see you too. And Dawn Paksowski. I love that last name, by the way, because I can pronounce it. Paksowski. A long time ago, I went to school with a girl with the name Anna Katarina Bukowski. Good Polish girl. And of course, I have to say hello to Linda's mom, Mary. Hello, sweetheart. I love that you and Linda watch together, kind of, sort of. You're in different states, but you watch together. I think that's wonderful. And Denise Chavez. And Jackie Wright. Hi, Jackie. And Brenda Owen. You have company today, so just pop in and out. You have to sneak in. And Debbie Carlton from Mississauga, Ontario. Oh, my heavens. Oh, you're not late, Debbie. We're just getting started. So it's been a week. And Gail Jensen. Oh, my stars. I know I missed a whole bunch of people at the beginning, and I'm sorry, but hopefully we'll get a chance to say hello as I go through. My heavens, this thing is just flying by today. And Lynn from Victoria. Victoria, BC. Oh, I love that city. It's just so pretty. Victoria, BC is one of those places that's like almost like a fairy tale. It's just so elegant and pretty, and it's a lovely city. Lovely, lovely city. And Carol Colbert. Hello, dear. My heavens, everybody's here today. Goodness. Alrighty. So we've talked about giveaways. I will remind you, if your name is called during the giveaways, pop onto my website, hit the contact button. Send me your shipping information. If we don't have it, I can't send it. Otherwise, I got to spend 4 hours searching for it. So just quick pop in. I will tell you that we are seeing some serious delays. We've had so many parcels go missing recently. I wanted to address that. We hang on to mail when there is a slowdown. When our shippers, we get notification if there is a backlog at U.S. Customs or if there's a backlog with shipping, we get notifications. And so we can't even get a way bill. So sometimes things will sit for a couple of days before we can actually put it in the mail. I prefer to keep them here than drop them in the mail and then God knows where they end up. So if you are missing a parcel, if you figure that if it hasn't gotten to you within a reasonable amount of time, and it's usually 3 to 4 weeks, I'm going to tell you that right now. If you haven't gotten it within 4 weeks, send me a message. Go to that contact button and send me a message. Let me know that you haven't received your parcel, whether it's a purchase order or a prize, it doesn't matter. We try to make sure that your parcels, if we can't get them to you or if they go missing, that we replace them. Parcels are insured, so don't worry about inconveniencing us. We would much rather that you get what you're supposed to get. Yeah, see, Deb? And you're in Canada. I mean, imagine what it's like going to the States. It's ridiculous. But yes, mail is taking a ridiculous amount of time to get there, particularly things going to the U.S. And with that backlog, I would much rather have it sitting here waiting for a week before we send it out, simply because if it sits at the border, things get broken, things get lost. So yeah, it's frustrating for everybody, believe me. But just so you know that if it does go missing, don't just sit and dwell on it. Let me know. We're more than happy to replace it if it has gone lost or is damaged or whatever. We are happy to replace it. We are insured. So that's what that's for. All right, guys. So now that we've covered the business part of this, let's have some fun. Like really, I have been wanting to paint with you guys all week. So here we go. So this is the piece that we're painting today. There's something about this that just, it screams old time label. Sorry, I got distracted. There's a cute message in there. This is the one that we're doing today. So fresh strawberries. I went with a really pretty script for the lettering instead of something a bit more old-timey. I wanted something softer. I wanted it to have that hand-painted look, so we're going to be doing that. As well as, you know, the simple little texture design that we're going to do in there. We're doing some antiquing. But the first thing, and the thing that I've really wanted to talk about today, was freehanding that border. Yes, it's freehanded. Bonnie Duncan's looking over my shoulder at all the stuff back there. You mean my pile? I've got a pile of stuff back there. So we're going to be doing leaves and the strawberries, and we're working with a really simple color palette. This is reds, greens, yellows, and blues. So these are all complementary colors, and then I've toned them down using a little bit of asphaltum. I really like this piece, and it looks so pretty sitting in that one of those little mini stands that gets glued to the back, and then sitting on a windowsill. It's just a pretty piece. It looks very summery and fresh, and it's just, I love this in the kitchen. So that's where this one is going. If you wanted to hang it, I think a piece of jute with maybe a red bead on the end of it, you know, would be really nice just to hang it in the kitchen if you don't have space to put it on a stand. But I just think that this is such a fun and really simple piece. So that is our project for today. Now, I don't even have this base coated because I wanted to talk about that too. The color that we are using for our base color is this one. This is Deep Midnight Blue. This is perhaps my favorite blue to work with. So Deep Midnight Blue is our color. And we're putting one coat on because I really want to distress this heavily. Well, matte medium, Lucy, matte medium should actually dry fairly quickly. And yes, MDF will suck up paint like crazy. I'll tell you that right now. When I'm doing anything to do with MDF, I usually mix a little bit of all-purpose sealer in with my base color, simply because this will drink it up. And the all-purpose sealer is a little thicker, so it will give you a bit more of a base. But yes, depending on the type of MDF, because there's different types, some that are really, really quite open, they have almost a sandpapery feel to them, they will drink it up. Others that are a bit more slick, and there are some that are very slick, they're a bugger to paint because paint doesn't want to stay there. This one is actually not too bad. This one is a little bit open, but it's still a high density fiberboard, so it's actually quite firm. So it is ideal for what we're going to do to it. So I'm going to grab my fugly brush. I'm going to get that wet. And we're going to use 1 coat of Deep Midnight Blue. Now I have it with a very moist brush, and I paint in one direction and one direction only. So if you start going horizontally, keep going horizontally. Just every once in a while, pick up a little bit of water in your brush. It'll help move that paint around. Now, I am not using an all-purpose sealer this time because I'm going to heavily distress this. And I don't want to seal off the wood. I want to be able to sand right through it. We are looking for a heavily distressed look on this one. And it usually scares people when they see that. You know, a little bit of AP sealer mixed in with your first coat on your base coat will save you a lot of time and effort. What is for dinner tonight? Tonight we are having a pork tenderloin or a pork loin roast with plums done in the smoker. My son gave me a beautiful smoker for Mother's Day a couple of years ago. And last night we had salmon burgers done on it. It was absolutely delicious. But tonight we are having a roasted pork loin with plums. The plums actually are cooked plums, but we're using those in the smoker. It's going to be delicious. So, hi Patty. From Minnesota. You mean southern Manitoba? Southern Manitoba. I thought that was hilarious. Sorry. I mean no offense, but somebody in Minnesota referred to it as southern Manitoba the other day. I thought it was funny because I used to live there in southern Manitoba. Yep, daisies and strawberries were perhaps one of the first things that we learned to do in decorative painting or toll painting at the time. It has become much more elevated now than it was then. Karen knows me too well, I think. Or at least she knows my cooking too well. What is this? Your first grandchild graduated from high school this morning. Oh, that's wonderful. And was accepted into your alma mater. Oh, that is awesome. I saw Judy Thacker's name, but I missed her. Where is she? Oh, yeah. Hello, Cordy. Okay, so we're nice and dry. And as you can see, this is not a fully opaque base coat. It is fairly open, but that's all we need. So we're going to talk about putting on a free-handed border. Now, all a free-handed border means is that we're using the brush to put the border on. We're not we're not going to put a really firm border design on there, but I want to show you how I create it. Anytime you're doing a border, it is always a good idea to have something to aim for. And so I'm going to show you a little trick that I learned years ago. I have one of these little tools. I love these things. And this one here is from Westcott. Actually, this one is one of the better ones. And this is why, see that little corner there? It's rounded over, and then it's rounded over here as well, but they're different sizes. This one is a much wider curve, and this one is much narrower. This is a great little tool for putting borders on things like this. So I'm using a white pencil so you can see what I'm doing. So I decided that I'm going to use this corner, this smaller one. And I'm going to, without measuring, I'm going to make my border about, maybe about 1/4 of an inch, like so. So that I get that little round corner into the corner, so there's about 1/4 of an inch in there as well. So I'm going to come all the way over here and come around that corner with the white pencil. And I'm going to stop just shy of the corner there. Ta-da! Then I'm going to put that edge against my line, like so. And I'm going to round the corner, just like that. And then I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. But now that I've got a line in right here, I can just butt this up against it. So this is the easiest way to create a border. Okay. So I've got a nice little border. Now all I'm going to do is just freehand something roughly the same size. Following about that 1/4. This is where the freehand part comes in. Just going to try to keep it as even as possible. That doesn't mean it has to be perfect, but as even as possible. Just like that. I got a new puffer, so my hands are a little shaky. So there we go. We've got a nice little border on there. And all it took was just one of these things. I love these because all the corners are rounded, but they're all different sizes all the way around, like that. And very handy little tool. This is a Westcott circle maker. If you're in Canada, you can get these at almost any Staples store. What kind of chalk pencil is that with the sharp point? This actually is a white watercolor pencil. I just sharpened it. This is a watercolor pencil. It's not a chalk pencil, it's just watercolor, so it'll come off quite easily. So our border on this piece is done with, ta-da, sunset gold. If you don't have sunset gold, you can use mustard seed. You can use any golden yellow will work fine for this. You do not have to have exactly the right yellow for this. As long as it's a golden yellow, it's going to work. So I'm using sunset gold because this is one of my favorite yellows. I love that mustardy tone. Just love it. And Judy, I've had those things. I think I've had mine for probably 30 years, and I've been making borders this way for years. So here we go. A little bit of sunset gold on our palettes. And I'm going to use a filbert. The reason I'm using a filbert is it's a very easy brush to control. And it's going to split the way I want it to split. I know that sounds really funny, but a filbert is an absolutely fantastic brush. So I've got this one. This one is a number 6 filbert. 6 or an 8 would be the best. I love my shape makers, my circle makers. And yes, a gray chalk pencil is hard to find. So yes, I use watercolor pencils quite frequently for this. So you're going to want, if you don't like to get paint on your tabletop, you're going to want to put something down, whether it's a piece of wax paper or parchment paper or whatever, it doesn't matter. So I've got a little bit of sunset gold in my filbert. And what you're going to do is you're going to press the filbert to the edge so that it rides the corner of the surface. And you're going to push the brush until it just touches that line. Just like that. Because the brush is riding the edge, it helps keep the other lines straight. So, but I mean by riding the edge is that half of the brush is on the surface and the other half is off riding the corner. This is a number 6. You can use a number 6 or a number 8. They will both work fantastic. So as you can see, I'm just coming up to the line, just meeting the line. I'm not trying to paint over it. There's so many ways to put on a border, but this to me is one of the simplest, certainly the fastest. And this is why I said you might want to put something on it, because the half that's riding the edge is going to put paint on your tabletop. That's okay. This thing gets cleaned every Saturday. And then once it's dry, you can either wipe it with a piece of dry paper or you can use an eraser. Yep, brown paper works fine. And what happened to my wrist? I'm wearing a brace today. It just needs a little support today. I have a problem with my right wrist, or my left wrist. I have for years. And when the weather's bad, it acts up. So I don't usually wear it on Saturday, but today I thought it's been aching like a toothache, so needs a little extra something today. So there. Now the other thing, we're not looking for perfection on this border. Painterly. Yeah, well, you know, this is a painter's technique, like commercial painter's technique. I have to remember, I used to work for an industrial and commercial painting company. And if you're painting molding and it's going to be a different color than the rest of the area around it, this is how we would do it. We would split the brush and let the brush ride the corner. Good morning. Hi, Robin. Robin from Southern California. I bet it's warm there. We've had a very warm week. It's been a lovely week as far as the weather is concerned. I did get my garden in late, but it's in. Tomatoes won't go in until next week. They're also late. Here we go. So I'm going to dry that. Now we have oodles of these boards in. So if you're looking for these boards, we have to actually have them in both sizes, this large one and then the smaller ones. And they're so pretty when you do them together. So now that we've got that in, I can go back in, and any areas that I'm thinking are perhaps not as, pretty as they should be, or perhaps not as opaque as they should be, I can go in and give them a little touch up. Look at that. So that little tool, that circle maker, and using the edges of that thing to make those corners so that, if you notice, all of the corners are uniform. We've got nice uniform corners. Not to mention we have a nice straight border. It's a fast and easy way to create a border around something. Look at that. And by riding the corner of riding the edge of the edge of the surface, it stabilizes the brush and allows you to keep a nice straight line. Ta-da! I love that. I love anything that makes things simpler. There's Cindy Monroe. Hello, Cindy. Hi, Joyce. You planted beets thinking they were radishes? Oh, my stomach. Well, I put in lots of zucchini. I put in snap peas and sweet peas. And I put in bush beans. I put in red basil, sweet basil, thyme, rosemary, and cilantro. And I have about 8 tomato plants that need to go in, but they're still just a little too small, so. So, not too bad for freehand, right? Oh, got a little wobble there, but I think that'll come off with the... So I have a little sponge. This is nice and dry. I'm just going to wash off the pencil. Ta-da! Little wet sponge. So I'll draw this really well. And Natalie Petitclerc. And Val Mann. Hi, Val. And Corinne Wiggins. Hello. So I have a visitor today. I don't know if anybody saw my voodoo computer. Yes. My computer and I are not getting along this week. This is my voodoo doll. This is Vinny. I've had him out a lot today. This past week, he's been out every day. Because, voodoo dolls are awesome. Anytime you have frustrations, you can take your frustrations out on the voodoo doll. So, yes, this is Vinny. Everybody, this is Vinny. Vinny, this is everybody. He's been my little buddy this week. My girl Sandy, Sandy McTeer, got him for me. He's my little buddy. I'm even wearing a voodoo doll today. I have one on my apron. And I'm obsessed with voodoo dolls these days, so don't be surprised. There's my pal Nance. Vinny's a good guy. The only people that, when you make a voodoo doll, you're supposed to put the name of the person in the stuffing. Like you write it on a piece of paper, you fold it up and you put it inside when you make your voodoo doll. And that way, any of the things that you do to the voodoo doll, it's just, supposed to bring them bad luck. The question, these are the pins. Look at these pins. I have beautiful voodoo doll pins. Look at that. Is Vinny related to Bob? Yes, he is. Yep, Vinny's related to Bob. But yes, I have beautiful, beautiful, very elegant pins. It is perfect. So, yeah. You might have seen my post on Facebook this morning. I made a graphic of a voodoo doll computer. Oh, yes, and you're coming with me, Nance. Somebody's got to hold the door for you. I'm just saying. So this is the scary part. This is the scary part of this, and this terrifies everybody. We're going to aggressively sand this because it's me, and I like it, and I get to take my frustrations out on things, right? So I'm going to sand this, again, always in one direction. If I start vertically, I finish vertically. So I'm going vertically. I'm going to put a little extra effort right here because I want to expose a little bit of wood. And I want to expose the edges. I'm going to sand through. I'm going to expose some wood. I like corners for that. Because corners would be the part that gets the most wear and tear, right? Spend a little time on the edges. Now, I have a coarser version on here. There's Patsy Justice. Hello, sweetie. And Sharon Klein. This is what I love, is when you're sanding and you wear through the top color to show you a little bit of blue. This, Denise, is a Gator sander, and you can get them on Amazon. They're fantastic. And it comes with like 1,000,001 pieces of sandpaper. It's awesome. Oops. So you can stop when you're happy. There's Brenda Sawyer and Georgia from Arizona. And Beth Green. Hi, Beth. So I wanted this to have that worn out, heavily distressed look. And just because you're doing something like that, where you're heavily distressing it, doesn't mean that borders and trims and whatnot shouldn't be straight, or that you'll get away with things. Anything that goes in a vertical or horizontal line should always be straight, even if it's going to be something that's going to look heavily distressed. And the reason for that is that our eyes are conditioned, our brains are conditioned to read everything from top to bottom, left to right. So that's why when you're going up the stairs and one of your paintings is out of whack and it's sitting crooked, that you were, right to your bone, have to fight the urge to straighten them. If it's your own home, that's fine. You can straighten them, but don't do it at somebody else. But yes, I am just OCD enough that would drive me bananas. So there we go. Look at that. I love it. Oh, look at that. Elsie, I didn't know you could get them at Home Depot. I've worn right through the paint, right to the surface. So that when I put our next step on here, these areas are going to get stained, right? Those areas where it's opened up are going to stain, like these corners here. See where I've worn away the yellow? And it's going to make this, see that? All those wonderful distressed bits, all of these fabulous little details, and that's what that creates. So, look at that. I love that stuff. You can feel some asphalting coming. Wouldn't it shock you if I didn't? I am, but it would probably shock you if I didn't. So I'm going to make a high-tech applicator. Pick up a little bit of water. And we're going to use some asphaltum. I have my wet sponge out, so we're going to be talking about floating too. So, a little bit of asphaltum. I know, this always scares everybody. I love this. Because we're literally staining it with just a little bit of acrylic paint. And I love that look. Look at this. I love the way this works. Now, this part, yeah, everybody would just drop from the shock, I think. Yeah. First of all, it's unlikely that will happen, but, you know. So I'm just putting literally a wash of asphaltum all over everything. Over the whole thing. And then I'm going to go vertically because I'm following that vertical pattern. I love this. This part's super easy. You would think I was AI and not the real Tracy. That, yeah, I could see that. So, look at that. Now, as I said, you can do as much of this or as little of this. So, my wet sponge, this is what I use. This is just a kitchen sponge. And I'll show you why I use that. I love that thing. For beginners, there's still a little here. I'm going to go, there we go. Look at that. So we've got a nice stained look. And you see a lot of this. Look at that. I love it. Robin Harkless. Oh, you gotta sell more planters. Sell, sell, sell. Yeah, one of the high-tech tool. My high-tech applicator. Little piece of shop towel. If you've got a soft, clean rag, will do the trick too. You don't need to have exactly the same thing. So I'm going to make sure this is good and dry. There we go. You'd be worried if my state of health. That's like my everything color. I do everything with that. So, I mean, how fun is this? And this is what this appeals to me about this corner, is when you look at it, you can see the scratches that the sander made in the paint. You can see some of the blue showing through. You can see the wood showing through. So you've automatically been given like 3 or 4 layers just simply. And you got to learn how to make a border. I mean, that's a super simple border, but it works every time. So we are ready to trace on our actual design. I am a huge fan of anything related to advertising art, old product labels, things like that. Fruit labels were a very big thing in the 40s and 50s. They had, the artwork in them was extraordinary. Now we usually just have, say, something stamped or a label on it that just says, strawberries, blueberries, whatever. But there was a time when the crates came with a really pretty label on the front of them, because all of the farms were family. And so they would have these elaborately designed labels. They're always so pretty. Now, right off the bat, I got a question about all the squares that I put in here. I put the squares in because I kept looking at this thinking there was nothing there. Now, we're using a stencil. Oh, Robin, I'm happy to shout out to you. Have a great show. If you're working a market, have a great one. I hope you're very successful today. Hi, Patrick. And Roberta, hey. I like the edges too. Absolutely. Back in the day, mandarin oranges came in wooden crates. They still do, but they're these little, I don't know. But I remember when I was a kid, because my family was living in farm country, but when I was a kid, we had all these beautiful labels on some of the fruit. And that's what it reminded me of. So that type of thing really appeals to me. It always has. So it is time to trace and transfer. So I'm going to use a little bit of white graphite. And I'm going to use my red pen. And there we are. So I chose a very simple font for this. I find a lot of the time I might like a certain font, like the look of it, and think, oh, that's so pretty. It would make such a pretty sign. And then the reality of it hits when you trace it on and you realize that I can't read that. So some fonts work very well for signage and others do not. And you can have a very elegant script, but if it isn't easy to read, then it's counterproductive where sign working is concerned. So it's to try and find something that is sort of a happy medium. And in this case, this was such a pretty one. This is called a hand script. This one is a very simple script. It's basic and it's legible. It's a very clean one, so it's a legible font. I have a couple that are like that. I love font for certain scripts for certain things. But the problem with a lot of them is quite simply that they aren't as easy to read as people think they might be. So I kind of think you have to look for something that walks the line. It has to be easy to read, but still give you the look you want. And this one, oddly enough, is called hand script. And it is an excellent one for this because it still has the chunky letters. The connecting lines in between are nice and are fine. So it does make for this is a nice signage. I've been looking for something new and unusual for Christmas fonts. I've got a couple of Christmas designs I'm dying to do, but I don't like the font that I chose, so I'm still looking. Trying to find something a little more top shelf, if that makes sense. You're tracking the oops? I say oops a lot, don't mind me. Knowing Nance, she's probably making a list for me. And I think you have to add another oops to the list. There we go. A couple of weeks ago, I oopsed and I had my graphite paper on upside down, which is no great surprise. Where do I find all my fonts? Well, there's so many places to get them. To buy fonts, but one of my favorites is designbundles.com or fontbundles.com, simply because they have such a great selection and they're affordable. There are some where you're paying, $120, $130 for a font. So I order fonts. But fontbundles.com is one of my favorites simply because they have such a huge variety and they're reasonably priced and you can buy them in bundles of fonts. So you may find a font you really like and then it'll have a variety of differences. And it sometimes, 20 or 30 different fonts in a bundle. So it's usually the most affordable. I have probably anywhere between 50 and 60,000 fonts on my computer right now at this point. And I'm always looking for something new. I do keep track, so I know what I have. But at the same time, there's constant changes. And I'm always looking for something fun and pretty. There we go. Fonts are easy. Fonts are a great way to convey an era, a time. There's so many different writing styles out there. There is a great site. I'm going to highly recommend them, called Century Design. If you're looking for graphics for designing, fonts for designing, I bought a membership when they first started, and I have never been disappointed. They have excellent graphics, good quality PNGs and SVGs. They're fantastic. So if you're looking for one, Century Design is out of this world. I'll post a link later on my Facebook page. They are terrific. Everything is, you're literally paying for access to tens of thousands of images that you can use in your designing. The thing that I like about them is that they are all essentially copyright free. You are paying for the privilege. Remember, oops, go in my box. Nancy's trying to decorate her house. I have to do a box up for her here shortly. Nancy does not paint. Nancy actually came up with a very interesting question the other day. What size is the board I'm using? This is a 7 by 10. And we have oodles of these on the website. So I've got my strawberries done, I've got my leaves done, got my flower done, got my little bud done. I have a quick look, make sure I didn't miss anything. Oh yeah, I missed a bunch. Of course I did. Because it's that week. It's that week. I could not read the congratulations on the baby card. Everyone chastised me for writing in cursive. Truly hadn't given a thought when I wrote it. You know what? I find it absolutely extraordinary that somebody could have trouble reading cursive writing. I have been taught cursive right from day one, like most of the people in our age bracket. Here we go. Nicely traced. This is perhaps my least favorite part of decorative painting, is putting my pattern on. It always has been, because to me it's so slow and I just want to paint. Oh my heavens. So we're going to start with the item that is furthest away from us. And in this particular case, that's the leaves. So I'm going to find myself a nice round brush. That is not it. I think I have a pretty blue one. There we go. I found a nice round brush. So we're going to start with our leaves. Now the leaves in the background. I always like to start with the things that are furthest away from me. So the color that we're using for our leaves is avocado toast. I know, it's like a secret code. My grandmother was a school teacher, and she had the most exquisite cursive writing. Her handwriting was absolutely beautiful. And my mother's was too. My mother had gorgeous handwriting. But I remember spending hours when I was a kid with those big sheets. Do you remember the big sheets with all the lines on it? They taught us how to write and how to get the letters all the right shape and the right height. And after a while, you just get so used to doing it that everything comes out right. I agree with you, Peg. Absolutely. It isn't just a means of communication. Yep, that 3-line paper. And we would practice each of the A's and each of the B's, and you'd do the entire alphabet every single day, and then you would learn to write your name. And then you would learn to write, like we used to have to do Bible quotes out of the Bible or script, what have you, from the Bible, because I went to a Catholic school, so, And if we messed up, then we wrote the 7 commandments. If we didn't behave ourselves or broke one of those commandments, then we spent a lot of time writing them out. Lower and uppercase writers and italics. I even remember the teacher had a thing that held chalk to draw those lines on with. Draw them on the chalkboard. So look at that. Now, again, I rarely base coat anything more than once. Reason for it, I hate base coating. Always have. It's an evil necessity. The color I'm using is avocado toast. If you don't have it, you can use lush green. There's so many different greens that will work just fine for this. Antique green, lush green. I'm using avocado toast because I just recently discovered it, even though it's been out for a couple of years. And I really like the tone of it. Deborah Schwartz. Hi, sweetie. You don't want the kids to know Deborah's writing. Get Renee to trace or Chuck. Yeah. So, I have a question. I've been playing with doing coloring pages, like for kids. And I've designed a couple. Actually, more than a couple. I've designed a lot of them, but I'm just having way too much fun with it. That's all. So I've got coloring pages. Here we are. So we have a green base coat. Yes, Vicky, I absolutely agree with you. They are being cheated out of a very sound fundamental lesson. Oh, teachers, oh my God. I feel your pain. I'll bet. Yeah, it's that time of year. It is strawberry season. At least in some areas it is. Ours is in July because it usually takes that long. we're still, getting into double digits. So I'm going to, we're going to shade our, I need a good angled shader. Here we go. So we're going to use plantation pine. Oh, pardon me. Plantation pine. Oh, I cannot get a strawberry to grow here. I don't know why. I can grow tomatoes like nobody's business, but not strawberries. So we're going to use, and this is where the sponge comes in. Sponge. I know. We had blackboards in our rooms. Yeah. So I'm using a 3/8 angled shader. Oh, that's a good idea. So this is a 3/8 angled shader, and this is plantation pine. Now, most people, when they struggle to learning to float, the biggest problem that they have is too much water or not enough in their brush. So when you dress your brush, which means you're picking up the brush, I've got mine full of water. Most people use something like paper towels to blot their brush on, but the problem with that is that paper towel is dry, and so it wants to immediately suck all the moisture out of the brush. I use a wet, like a damp sponge, and my brush is very wet. It's got a lot of water in it. It's not dripping, but it's very wet. So I'm going to touch it to the surface of the sponge on both sides. Just a gentle little touch. The sponge will pull off the moisture, but it doesn't empty the brush. You notice the brush still looks nice and wet. So when I pick up a little color on the tip of my brush and I blend, like so, look at that blend. I have just enough water in my brush to do this. So when I come in and I pity-pat my little float in behind my strawberry, like so, and along there, I get a nice sponge. Helps you develop a feel for how much water is enough. Kathy, the website is called fontbundles.com. Fabulous site. This is a yellow-based green. Yes, it is, my dear. Now, as I was saying, my friend Nance came up with a very good question the other day. How would you describe this, or how would you teach this to someone who is colorblind? I mean, and being colorblind is not something that people really think about unless it affects them directly. But my dear friend cannot see certain colors. And so, as much as she would like to paint, she's not quite sure how she would gauge that. So, I would love your input. Hi, Rory. Welcome. Oh, from Amarillo, Texas. I've been there once. And Sherry, your strawberries escaped their raised bed and planter bags and have started sprouting along the driveway. Oh, wow. Free-range strawberries. It could be worse. I can't get them to grow at all, so. But yeah, if anybody has any thoughts on what could be done to teach painting to someone with color blindness. Yes, I agree. There's very little arts being taught anymore, sadly. Learning the arts, honestly, I think I think it provides a lot more than just, a creative outlet. One of my favorite books. If you have never read it, I highly recommend it. Is this one, Drawing on the Right Side of the Brain. This is a fabulous read. And if you get an opportunity or find a copy at your local library, I actually found this one at a place that gets rid of library books. And fantastic read. But I have read this book at least a half a dozen times. It is well worth the read. This one is a 4th edition, goes back quite a ways. It's written by Betty Edwards. Absolutely phenomenal read. If you are interested in the arts, this is a great read. So, just a little tidbit. I keep this one on my desk. It's an excellent book. A number system. Now, interestingly, a number system I think would be really great. And it is hard. It would be a great idea to utilize it so they'd know which color goes where. However, it doesn't solve the conundrum of them being able to process that color, or how to evaluate color, or art appreciation for someone who is colorblind is a remarkable question to me. I would love to have that input from someone who is colorblind. Nance. I would love to hear that. Just to see, how it affects how you perceive things when you look at them. I think that's it's a very interesting question. Who moved my cheese? Mine slid off the cracker a long time ago. Yeah. Drawing on the Right Side of the Brain was required reading. Yeah. It's an excellent book. Oh, cool. Very cool. Painted beach bag. What a great idea. So, I can't recommend this sponge method enough if you struggle with floating. Because 9 times out of 10, it isn't the blending that's the problem. It is quite usually the amount of water in the brush. Getting that balance, I think, is the biggest issue for a lot of people. And I mean, you've heard me do it. Oh, got too much water in my brush. I know it the minute I start blending that I've got way too much water or not enough water. So, and I've been doing this a long time, so it's behooves me to help you find a way to simplify that issue or to eliminate it altogether. I was just looking at my leaf and realized that I put the center vein straight up, and I don't like that. Okay, so I've got my first shading in. Oh, okay. Yeah, that's a great... Thanks, Patrick. I'm not colorblind, so for me, the idea that somebody can't process specific colors, though I missed a leaf? Where did I miss a leaf? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. They're all there. This isn't a leaf. Yeah. And there, Sue Schreiber, there is an excellent, that's excellent. They would have to learn to adapt colors they can see clearly. The downside to that is that perhaps they may not necessarily be an appropriate color for whatever they're painting. However, if that works for them, it could look fantastic to another person who's colorblind. And I just think it's such an interesting concept looking at it. Everybody processes art in a different way. We can all look at the very same piece of art, and everybody would see something different. Now, that's interesting too, that you would probably notice value better than we do. I agree. Yeah, that's very cool. Reds and greens. That seems to be the most common, although yellows and blues are hard for others, so it all depends. Top one, bottom right. This one has the center vein. This one does. This one does. This one does. They all have their center veins. Yeah. Yeah. I think it all depends on how the brain processes that information. And that's generally what it is in color blindness, is how the brain processes information. So we've got our first shading in. Now we're going to do all of the little lines. Now, our shading, this one is out of whack. I gotta fix that. There we go. Okay, I made it a little darker so I can see it. So we've got our first shading in. Now, to do those vein lines, we're going to shade as well, but it's a little smaller. So I'm going to come off that center vein like that. This creates, and it's still just a little float. See how it creates those little center lines, those vein lines in the leaf. Bring it out to the end like that. So now we've got those vein lines in there. Bonnie, I think that was my instructor as well. As I know for almost the first year. Yeah, we did everything in black and white for a long time. And I think learning to draw is perhaps one of the most valuable skills for an artist. And primarily because that teaches you value. Learning to shade using just graphite, it makes a huge difference in how you view things. Understanding value is immensely important. Okay, so I've put my shadow, I turned it this way and I floated this way, darkest value out towards the point of the leaf. And it's a short float, as you can see, but that helps create your vein lines in there. But it's also going to create some shape and dimension to the leaf. Well, wow. Colorblind, and see, that's not ever been something that I have had to deal with. So it was just such a valuable and interesting question. I really wanted to see some feedback from others. I suppose, like a lot of people, I just simply assumed that colorblind was colorblind, that you couldn't see color. It never really occurred to me that people could be blind to specific colors. So, which leads me to believe that color blindness is more of a processing, like a process through the brain than it is with eyes. Because color is, the brain basically translates whatever we look at. So, very interesting. I'm glad you guys told me. That's really cool ideas in there. So we're going to add a highlight to our leaves. And again, I'm going to use our water, use my little sponge. This time I'm using margarita. I'm going to blend this out really well because this is a strong yellow-green. And we're going to put a highlight right there down our center vein, like so. And then on the back side, going in the opposite direction of our shading, we're going to float right up against those little vein lines, like so. Oops. So look at the dimension we got out of that. Again, super simple. Highlight opposite that shadow. Look at that. And we're nowhere near done. We still got a ways to go yet. Da, da, da. That is absolutely true, Sue. The downside to that is that there are so many places for instruction. And I had this conversation just recently with a friend that was saying there's so many places that you can get information on the internet, learn how to do things, which I think is fantastic. It shows a desire to learn, which I think is perhaps the more important than most. So the downside is that perhaps some of the information that they are getting is not necessarily completely accurate or complete. But that does not... what is this? Oh, is that what it is? Okay. Cones detect red, green, and blue light, not a function of the brain. Oh, wow. So I always thought it was a function of the brain processing that information. Damaged or absent. Oh, neat. So I guess it would be what? Classified as either an injury or a birth defect? Huh. Yeah, Nance. So we have another color to go into these leaves, and the color that we're using is this one. It's Black Forest Green. I love this one for a couple of reasons. This green has a touch of blue in it, so it's a very cool green, very jungle green. Donna, drawing like driving a car, operating a computer is a learned skill. Some people get it much faster than others, but anybody can learn to draw. So I'm using a little bit of Black Forest Green, and I'm deepening all of my shadows. Look at this. Look at your leaf now. Particularly, and this is where you want to pay attention, is down in here. This area here, at the deepest part of that leaf, right there. So now look at how bright that leaf comes to life. And I like to come back in with a little bit of that margarita and brighten just some high points. I love some high points done. So look at our leaf now. Disease, medications, yeah, I imagine so. Wow. I just think it's such an interesting topic. And it's always surprising to me to learn that there are painters, even though they're colorblind, that they still paint. I guess the desire is there regardless, right? My father was colorblind to red. Well, I knew he was colorblind, but I recently learned he was colorblind to red, which explained why he never wore red. My father always wore blue or gray. Now I know why. So there's our leaves. I'm going to take a little bit of that. I love what this Black Forest Green does for those leaves. Look at that. Tons and tons and tons of dimension. You get all that shape in there. And you can add more yellow. You could add a little white to this if you wanted to. Oh, Carrie. Have a great day before it gets too hot. Yes. Thanks, Janet. That actually clarifies a bunch of things for me that I did not know. Okay, so I've got something that I forgot to do while I was so busy. So I have a little bit of Payne's Gray. And I'm using Payne's Gray because I used the last of my Prussian blue the other day. And I don't have any Prussian blue, but I needed a darker blue tone, so I'm going to be using a little bit of Payne's Gray for this. And I'm going to be using a little larger angled shader. I'm using a 1/2 inch. Okay. A little bit of Payne's Gray. Now, ordinarily, I would use Prussian blue to shade under here. I suppose I could have used Twilight, too. Such a great color. But Payne's Gray will work just fine for this. I just want to put a shadow underneath these berries. Payne's Gray is not, I think I've had the same bottle sitting in there for a couple of years because I just don't use it very often. Because my shading colors tend to be, I lean into my asphaltum quite a bit. And for blues, I lean into Prussian blue. Well, I know why cats have whiskers, but I don't know why dogs have whiskers. Isn't Google wonderful? You can find out almost anything on Google. So here we go. I got a little bit of that Prussian blue, or not Prussian blue, Payne's Gray. Good grief. Payne's Gray is a neutral. Yeah, they are radar sensors. Yeah. Muse. I have that color right here. I'll be honest, my favorite is After Dark. Odyssey is another one. If you want something with a greenish cast, blue-green cast, Odyssey is fantastic. But Muse is more of a purple. Muse is more of a purple. It's still very pretty. It's more of a purple. So I'm going to dry that. I've tucked a little shadow in. I should have done it right at the beginning and didn't. So our next bit is to base coat these strawberries, and I'm using a little bit of Country Red. One of my favorite reds, although I do have a new favorite. No, Payne's Gray has not been retired. It is a great color. So we're going to use Country Red to base coat our strawberry. And I base coat following the shape of the thing that I'm base coating. And Country Red, I love this color. This tends to be my go-to red a lot of the time. It's my Christmas red. It's my, I don't know, it's just such a yummy red. Yes, Deborah. Ordinarily, I do. I want my reds to be very bright. But in this case, I wanted them to maintain the overall tone that this all has, which is a bit deeper and a bit rustic. So I did not use white this time. Ordinarily I do, because I want the red to be really vibrant. I don't in this case. And I usually assess that or decide that based on what I'm painting and what the overall look is going to be. I want everything to have that tone. I ordinarily would have done the same to the leaves, but I did not this time. I wanted everything to have that tone. Deborah, you've been watching me too often if you had to ask that question. And she's absolutely right. Ordinarily, I base coat everything with white first, especially when it's more transparent tones like these greens and this red. And you can see why just by looking here. You see, you can really see that dark blue showing through. And ordinarily, I would put a bit of white down to act as a barrier, but I want that effect this time around. I want that blue to affect the red. I want to give it that aged look, and by letting the color underneath do that, it saves me a step. Same with the leaves. I didn't put the white down. Yes, absolutely, Patrick. It would have made it too white. We're using it today. I love crimson, and you'll see why when you put it over top of this country red. It's going to give it a completely different look. So there. Again, when I'm painting, base coating something, I follow the shape of the thing that I'm painting. So in this case, strawberries. So I'll dry that, and then we're going to give it a quick coat of red. One more quick coat. It does, Denise. It gives you a much better base coat. And as I said before, any lines or brush marks that you create, yes, Debbie, it is an absolute neutral. You can put it with almost any color and it'll work. So, with the second coat, look at this. Following that shape, any brush lines, any brush marks, whatnot, just basically disappear into the shape of the piece. So 2 coats of red over dark blue, boom. I'm going to dry that. Strawberries, I think, they have a lot of influence in folk art, in traditional folk art, and Baumalerie. From when it comes from the European, toll painting originated in France. And it is a very old art form. It's not limited to just painting on wood. The original toll painting was painting on metal, tin, things like that. Farmers' wives and country folk and the poor people, they could not afford to buy those elaborately decorated home items. And so they would often decorate them themselves. And so that's kind of where it originated. So you would see beautifully decorated farm pieces and, things that people used, practical items that they used in their homes and whatnot. In order to have them decorated, they had to do it themselves. And so tin work, buckets, pails, elements of the home that they would create themselves. So you would find things, simple things, like small wildflowers, strawberries, things like that. We're seen an awful lot in that type of work. Here we go. Hi, Elizabeth. Hi, Jill. You want the airplane and the farm truck? They're a download. Oh, I know what the ones you mean. You have the pattern from last week? From the Father's Day one? I can send those to you. No problem at all. Jill, send me an email from the contact list. I'll send them to you. Jessica? Yeah. There we go. So we have strawberries. So we're going to start shading our strawberries. We're going to do that with this, which is that crimson red. This is a really pretty deep red. It's very transparent, but it turns this country red nice and rich. So here's my 1/2 inch angle. That one's being cranky. There we go. So I'm going to blend this. We're going to shade in behind our strawberry with crimson red. Look at that. This is just such a rich, in-your-face red. And I'm going to separate these strawberries with that crimson red. Like just a yummy red. And then I'm going to shade this side of our big strawberry in the middle with a float of that as well. And just in case you're wondering why I haven't done those leaves yet at the top, the husks, we're going to do those last. So I'm going to dry that, and then I'm going to deepen that with another float. Look at that. So don't forget, up underneath those little leaves, at the top of the strawberry, and we also need to put a narrow float of that same color down this side. It's going to be considerably narrower than the other. There we go. And this is what gives our strawberry that. I know, making me hungry for strawberries. Nothing I'd like better than to bake something with strawberries, but good Lord, you see the price of them? Holy hockey pucks, Batman. Right now, they're bloody pricey because they're still not in season for us. That's why. And the greenhouses are busy getting ready for everything else, so they're not making any strawberries. So look at that. So we have an open area here. You love the float acrylics if you did cad red for strawberries. Yeah, or even the quinacridone magenta would work, Lisa. I'm a big fan of the fluid acrylics too, fluid acrylics, the media paints. I'm a huge fan of those, and my favorite shading colors for reds is either the primary magenta or the quinacridone magenta. I love both of those. Those are both in-your-face reds, and I just love them. Oh, you're welcome. So look at our strawberries. So soft black is one of my favorite dark colors for shading reds, and the reason for that is because it has a red base. So if you're working with soft black, let me see if I can find it. It almost has like a purplish red tone in it. And I don't know if it's going to show up, but I wanted to show you this. I'm going to do it on the back of my line drawing here. Set that aside. This is soft black, a little bit on my hand. When you smear it onto a piece of white paper, have a look at that. It's not black. It's not brown. It almost looks purplish, like it has like a deep aubergine tone to it. And this makes it a great color for shading reds to get that really rich dark shadow. This makes this a fantastic color for shading reds. You can use black as well. My problem with black is that it tends to flatten out the color a lot, and it contributes nothing to it. So if you're going to use black to shade a red, mix a little of your red into the black. Whatever red that you used to base coat with, mix a little of that into the black. So if you don't have soft black, that's what you can do. But soft black is a fantastic color for shading reds. So again, I don't use this color full strength because it's a strong dark color. But it is a fantastic color for shading red. It is very nice, rich and deep, and it does not flatten out your color. I got way too much water in my brush. Oh, Chantilly. It's been years since I've heard whipped cream referred to as Chantilly. My grandmother used to call it that. So here is our soft black. Now I have blended mine quite a bit. I don't like to use it full strength because it can be a little overbearing, and I like to do things in layers. Control. I have a thing about control. There we go. Look at that. Nice little soft black. Now, if you're doing this, if you're anything like me and you like your floats a little softer, don't be afraid to take a mop to that. Soften it up a little. There we go. And voila, look at our strawberries. They're really popping up. Doing things in layers gives you a tremendous amount of control. So you're much better off using lots of thin layers of color to build up to where you want to be than in trying to get it all done in one go. If you do it in layers, you end up with much softer shadows. And it leaves you with all of the control in your hands. Yum, strawberry jam. I have loads of it. So we've got nice little shadows in place. Now I'm going to show you a little trick. I like doing this for things like strawberries because it makes things fast. So I'm going to take a little bit of that crimson that we used and a little bit of soft black. Hi, Ari. Hi, kitten. Now I'm going to just grab a pencil here. I'll use that watercolor pencil again. So I'm just going to, I won't use that one. We're going to choose the highlighted area, which is in this area right here on that large strawberry. Don't do anything exciting till I get back. Okay, so here is the section for our highlight right here. And I want to put strawberries in here. And my strawberry seeds, I should say. So in that area, I'm going to form sort of an offset grid. So I'm going to do this with my pencil. I'm going to put a line like that. Just diagonal lines like this in the center. I know you probably can't see that, but like that. And then I'm going to cross-hatch them in the other direction, like so. And I'm leaving a space like this. So essentially, I'm creating a diamond-shaped grid. Okay, I'm trying to get it so you guys can see that. There it is. So a diamond-shaped grid in the highlight section of that strawberry. And then inside each of those squares, right in the center, I'm going to put a little C-shaped float, like that. So that it forms a diamond, like that. Little C-shaped float, comme ça. So this is what we have. You see that? Those little C-shaped floats? That's where our seeds are going. And I'm going to do that to all three of these. And it's so much simpler. I'm going to do it with this pencil. Just because it bugs me that you can't see that. So I'm going to, again, do a diagonal like that. just in that highlight section. And then I'm going to go in the diagonal in the other direction so that it forms a grid, like so. Just like that. And then inside each of those open squares, a little bit of crimson red, a little bit of soft black. I just need a very dark red, that's all. And I'm going to put a little C-shaped float. Like that. I'm going to dry that, and then I'm going to erase the grid. And I'm going to do the same thing over here, but it's going to be much smaller. So again, as I said, I'm going to just do a quick little grid like this. And then I'm going to float into it. Little C-shaped float. Doesn't have to be perfect. Just like that. So I'm going to dry that well. I'm going to use an eraser to remove that because I don't like it. I could have just used water to remove that, but it won't take the graphite off, so I'll just erase it. So now that it's removed, you can see that texture? So now that we've got that little hatch, cross hatch in there, I'm going to find, I need my little mezzaluna. I need a little dry brush. I used a big one yesterday. Now I can't find it. Oh, good gravy. Ah, there it is. Okay, so I've got a little mezzaluna. And I'm going to pick up a little bit of warm white. We already have a little bit of sunset gold in there. I really need to order some paint. So I'm going to load up my mezzaluna with a little bit of warm white. Does my kitty play with my brushes? Taz does. Ari does not. Gizmo could care less. So I've got my little dry brush, and I'm going to dry brush in between those little C strokes, like that. Little dry brush on the diagonal, and then I'm going to do it again the other way, in between those little C strokes. Ta-da! My last paint order was 61 pounds, if that tells you anything. UPS driver was not happy with me. I order my paint for like 3 or 4 months at a time because otherwise I'm running out of colors. I have no Prussian blue left. I'm down to 2 bottles of asphaltum, and I think I've only got maybe 2 bottles of warm white left, and it won't last me long. So light little dry brush, like so. And in between, going the other way. So there, my darlings. So you can take that same dry brush. C strokes, they were that crimson red, and I put a little touch of soft black in it. And warm white for the dry brush. Now, I'm going to use that dry brush again with a little bit of yellow, a little bit of that sunset gold. Remember that gold that we put around the border? And the brush I'm using is this one. It's a Mezzaluna. This is a Dynasty Mezzaluna. Love these. So I've got a little bit of Sunset Gold on my brush, and I'm going to come towards the center of this little crosshatch here. I'm using the dirty brush. I just wanted to put a little yellow at the impact point on the strawberry, which is just the center of that little tiny bit of yellow on there. You don't need much. Et voila. Now, if you have a little round brush, this one is a number 1. It's brand flippin' new. You can tell because I never used it. I don't use them very well or often. So I'm going to use a little bit of that Sunset Gold. And just off to the side of that little C stroke, we're going to put a little teardrop of Sunset Gold, just to the left of it. We're going to put a seed in it, like that. Now there's going to be a couple of spots here. You're just going to touch them on. See, look at that. We've got seeds. And I'm going to do the same to these, but you just want to be able to see that. Oops, Daisy, I went the wrong way. Little teardrop shape. And I'm going to dry that. Mezzaluna brushes are awesome. I just love them. Iris, thank you for that. I like this dry brush, especially if you're doing strawberries. It just gives you the illusion of a little elevation and a little bit of texture. But I like to dry them, and I'm going to show you something here. Right now they're coming screaming off of there. We don't really want them to. So I'm going to take my 3/8 angle, and I'm going to use a little bit of asphaltum. Blend it out well. And we're going to put a little shadow over that seed and deepen that little shadow that's in there, sort of sandwiching that seed between the two shadows. Just like that. Look at our strawberries. Oh, the last batch of strawberries I bought were horrendous. How do I feel about inventing seedless strawberries? I'd love it because I hate getting those seeds in my teeth. Little float of asphaltum. 2 things. Putting that little bit of asphaltum just tones that yellow down a little bit, but it also deepens that little divot that the seed sits in. Just a little. Look at that. They don't need to be come screaming off of there. So now we're at the point where we can start deepening shadows. I'm going to do one more float of soft black just to bring those shadows in line. Look at that. It's a soft float. I'm not doing a lot. And then as soon as that's dry, we're going to go over the strawberry with a little bit of asphaltum. Oh, you're supposed to pick them. Yeah, that'll be the day. So once that's done, we're going to give each berry a nice little float of asphaltum. Like so. I love asphaltum. It's just such a marvelous color. Yikes. There we go. When I'm using asphaltum, I use it primarily for toning, just to get everything to come into that same look. I mean, all of our leaves, our background, every element of this has that tone. And so it's important to bring that tone everywhere. So you can take a nice thin float of asphaltum, tone your leaves. Look at that. Little float down the middle. Little float of asphaltum in the middle. This just tones everything. Brings it all into line. Look at that. Those are pretty strawberries. Now, if at any time you're supposed to eat cherries. Oh, I know the price of berries and cherries and fruit in general has just been insane lately. Just insane. Okay, so for my members, it is easy. Now you want strawberries. So we have nice fresh strawberries. Now, if you want to, you can enhance, like I've got a nice soft highlight going in there. Look at that. It stops looking like a grid once you get the layers in. It stops looking like it's got a grid on it, but you still see the texture and it gives you a really nice shape to your strawberries. So we've got the strawberries done for now. We may tweak them a little bit, but we do have to add those other leaves in. So I need a small round. Here we go. I'm going to use a little bit of that avocado toast, and I'm going to pick up a little bit of antique pine, plantation pine, and I'm going to stroke in those leaves like so. I just like to have a little plantation pine on the brush just to give it. So we're going to put the strawberry husks in. Sorry, I was upside down. So 2 little strokes. Just bought yellow raspberry plants and a bunch of grape trees. Wow. The trick, and I learned this a long time ago at school. Develop the back first. It gives you a lot more dimension. So we started with the elements in the back. We worked with the leaves tucked in behind all of this fruit, and we worked forward. So these are, treat the leaves the same way. That little husk, you're going to treat that the same way. So I'm just going to stroke those in. And after we've done all of that work in the background, it just makes everything in the foreground a little bit easier. And then when you're adding these elements, you'll notice that the elements in the background look cleaner because you're using that to sharpen everything. Yes, they do look like little skirts. but it also gives everything, an easy way to get that dimension. And you can tell when your shadows are out of whack when you do this. So if you're painting away and all of a sudden your shadows don't look right, it's telling you that, oh, you got to go in and adjust them. Fix them up a little. And this is just a comma stroke. Anybody that says that all of that brush work, those, practicing those strokes was of no benefit, this is where it becomes a benefit. Because you get to paint all of these things so simply. Look at that. So we have strawberry husks. Now we have two blossoms. We have a little white blossom here, and then we have one on a stem. No, no, no. I'm going to take a little bit of margarita, and I'm going to paint in that stem back there. And I just put my, oh, didn't, goodness. At least it wasn't wet paint to put my finger in. That would have been closer to the norm. So I used a little bit of margarita. When we were living in Winnipeg, we had all kinds of raspberries, and they get out of control after a while. The other thing you have to do is tear out an old plant every once in a while and introduce a new one. Simply because after a while they'll produce less and less if you don't. So it's a good idea, especially if you don't have raspberries growing wild anywhere. Oh well, look how pretty. So we have a little blossom back there. I'm going to use my little round, and I'm going to stroke in some little leaves back here. We have a little bud right there. And then I've got some worm white. We have a strawberry blossom back here. Again, I like to stroke and follow everything in one shape. I just like the effect that it has. It also gives you a really nice smooth petal when you do this. Just creates, again, keeps all the lines going in one direction, all the brush marks, one direction. Easy peasy. What the heck? Don't you hate that? It picked up like some lint or something. Drive you nuts. All of a sudden it's got a hair that goes in 10 different directions. Okay, this petal here goes around. I should have painted that petal first before I put that leaf in. There we go. And then the center of this is going to be white. Here, just like that. Still got that wonky hair in there. I don't know. It's driving me bananas. There we go. So that's that. And I'll paint this bud with white. There we go. I have a really neat trick for painting strawberries or raspberries, sorry. So I'm going to dry this. And there is, if you're looking for, I gotta tell you, if you're looking for surfaces, we're fully stocked. I mean, we have everything you can imagine in here right now. And we have a coupon on the website that gives you 15% off, even on the sale items. So please use it. And I know that the brush guys have got some sort of a sale on right now on a variety of brushes, not just Dynasty brushes, but a variety of brushes. And you can get an extra discount if you use my coupon code, and it's Tracy M on there. And if you're on the DecoArt website ordering paint or products or whatever it is you need, my coupon there is Tracy M15. So you can get an additional discount there as well. So, and that helps me. Helps me keep the lights on. Not bad. Hi, Kim. And Patricia. Hi. Thank you for that. I do like it. So our center here is going to be based with a little bit. I'm going to use that sunset gold. I'm a firm believer that you know, start as you mean to go on. So sunset gold in the center of that thing. And then I'm going to use my 3/8 angle. You might notice I use a lot of angles. I like them. Hey, we haven't had any weirdos in today. Usually get one of those, you know, odd ducks that like to come in and stir things up, but we haven't had any today. I'm glad of that. So I've got a little bit of orange flame. Yes, it keeps me in asphaltum. All of those coupon codes actually help us keep the lives going, so we appreciate it when you use them. There we go. A little bit of orange flame for a shadow. And I'm going to use a little bit of tea berry. I love tea berry. It's one of my colors that I love them for white flowers. But I wanted to show you something. Now, I use tea berry in the other one. I want to show you something using Bahama Blue. Oh, not that kind of weirdo, Lovey. Those are the good weirdos. I'm talking about the other ones. We get some Lulus. I had one a couple of weeks ago that told me that I had a very sexy voice. Like, yeah, okay. So I've got a little bit of Bahama Blue, and I wanted to show you this. So I used tea berry in here to keep that nice warm pinkish tone in the flower. And you've seen me do this with daisies a lot, using Bahama Blue. But I wanted to, this just gives me a chance to explain why I use certain colors with whites. Whenever you want a cooler tone in flowers, things like daisies, whatever. I have a very cool background on this piece. So I have this dark blue back here, so it's a very cool background. And I wanted to keep that cool tone, but at the same time I needed to control it. So that's why it works. I've got this warm, hot, spicy yellow all the way around the outside, and then this cool blue, and then these warm reds, and even these warm greens. So if I want something that's going to give me a cooler tone, I'll lean into using a little Bahama Blue to shade those flowers. And then to bring it into balance with the rest of the colors that are in here, I use a little bit of heavily thinned asphaltum. So those are dry. So when I come in over top of asphaltum or over top of that Bahama Blue with asphaltum, I still get that cooler tone or that cooler look, but this sort of brings it into balance with the rest of the piece. So you can do it either way, quite honestly. It all depends on what appeals to you. Now, I'm a fan. I absolutely love asphaltum and Bahama Blue together. But I also love teaberry and asphaltum. I also love orange flame and asphaltum. So you can see that it gives you still get the same effect. You get the shading, the dimension, etc. But at the same time, you get a different temperature. Same flower, but different temperature. And that's what makes the difference. Hi, Norma. Strawberry festivals. It's that time of year. So, and that. So I know that was probably more than you needed to know about controlling temperature, but that's what it does. The other thing that it does is by using that warmer temperature, it balances with that strawberry. And so this blossom pops forward a little bit. Same with that little bud. They become a little more thing, but they are not the focus, which is cool. The other thing that you might notice in this is the placement of the flower. I've placed it so that it joins up with this. So although it looks like it's just, 3 strawberries lettering splashed across the top, there is a method to the madness. The composition is laid out like this. This is called an S composition. So I've started here. It comes down this way. You see your strawberries, down to the white, and through. So this is designed so that it draws the eye through it. If you've ever looked at a piece of your work and thought, something looks out of balance, something doesn't look right, 9 times out of 10, it's not your painting, it's not your color, it's usually the composition that is out. And it can be as simple as moving something a little closer to other elements. It can be as simple as changing the color or the style of the font, or it could be changing the color or the shape of the border. Usually it's just the competition. And competition. Good God, my brain just shut off. It's the composition. So when you look at something like this is how it's designed. It's designed to sort of draw your eye through. We started with fresh into strawberries, down to the white flower, down to the strawberries and back. So that is how having positioned the lettering. If I had put the flower somewhere else, it would have gone down to the flower. It may have still have achieved the same thing, but this one draws the eye gently through it because we read from left to right, from top to bottom. And so it carries from the blue to the white, down to the white flower, to the bud, across the strawberries and back. So it's a simple composition, but it is an S-style composition. In case you were wondering. You probably weren't, but there you go. So we're going to tackle our leaves in here just to give them a little something. They need a little bit. I'm going to use a little bit of plantation pine. Again, I'm going to float. Oh, no, I'm going to use the black forest green. Sorry. My brain is just... So little float right at the base of the leaves where they join the stem, like that. Super simple. Don't overthink it. Just, look at each petal or each leaf as a separate entity. There we go. Little float of black forest green. Separate your leaves. It doesn't need to be a perfect float. It doesn't have to be really dark. The idea is just to give those leaves a little bit of shape. They don't need to be overly complex. We are going to put a little highlight on them though, but just a little bit at the tip. There we go. Look at that. Super simple. And don't forget the little butt. A little shadow back there. When I talk about tweaking shadows, this is what I'm talking about. It's just deepening things in the background there. Like that. You can tweak till the cows come home. Look at that. I love it. So we've got nice little shadow on those tiny little leaves. I'm going to use a little bit of margarita. And we're going to put just a little highlight at the tip of that leaf, like so. Just brightens it and pops them off of the background a little bit more. It does, again, don't overthink it. Just put a little highlight at the tip. There we go. As I said, it doesn't have to be a really big, bright highlight. Just a little one is all that's really necessary. Look at that. This type of thing is so fun to paint. As long as you can learn something from each piece that you paint, even if it's that you don't particularly like painting a certain thing, or if you don't like a specific color. I am not a fan of like absolutely perfect floats. I prefer things to have a look like a little bit of imperfection is a bad thing, isn't it? I love imperfections. That's what gives things character. Okay, so I've got fabulous. I love it. This part's super fun. So I'm going to grab my Posca pens. You can do this with a stylus if you want to, but I like my Posca pens for this. It's something I recently discovered and just love it. So I'm going to use my Posca pen, my black one, and I'm going to use just to put a series of little dots around my center here. A little scattered. I like them. Like that. And then I'm going to grab my gel pen. My black gel pen. I have one here somewhere. I know I do. Oh yes, there we go. Everybody's got a coffee cup full of pens. Only one of them works, but we've got one. I might have to retire this one. And then you're going to connect those little black dots with some fine little lines like so. Curve them so they go underneath the the yellow bit. And then you can take your white Posca pen and add a few to the inside of your flower. I love Posca pens and gel pens. You can do some fun things with them. Now, I have a white Posca pen or a white gel pen here somewhere. Ta-da! Hopefully it's one that works. And I'm going to put, I like the squiggly lines around my flowers, like so. I think I like this one better than the original one. It's looking better anyway. I like my scribbly lines. Now I'm going to take my liner brush. I want a nice scripty liner brush. So the one I'm using is my 10-aught extra long detail liner. And I'm going to thin out a little bit of Margarita. And we're going to do some fun stuff. I'm going to add a scribbly outline to my leaves. And I'm also going to put in that stem that connects my leaves. I love a squiggly line. The fun part about this is it doesn't have to be perfect. You can add little details to your leaves, should you so desire. But I like the squiggly lines. The squiggly lines are freeing. And they hide a multitude of sins. Just saying. Happy accidents. Yes, I love my happy accidents. I've been designing coloring book pages. I've been designing decoupage pages. I've been having way too much fun with that. But decoupage, I've added a few to the website. We're going to be using one of them next Saturday. We're going to be doing a floral with a decoupage background. And I'm really excited about it. Because it's a pretty piece. We're going to be doing a big cabbage rose. It's summer. We need something summery. Patrick, once they find the device, like a powerful one that works for you, you're going to sleep like a baby. And then once I got mine sorted out, I did really well with it. So same thing. Look at those. Just a few little fun details. I like doing my leaves like this because it makes them look a little lacier, a little softer. And on something that could otherwise end up looking a little chunky and a little heavy, especially given that we're using so many dark colors, having that brighter outline on the leaves just helps make everything look a little bit lighter, a little more delicate. I try to find the happy balance. And that squiggly line, oh, Patrick, I know completely what that feels like. And it's so hard. But yeah, you will feel better, I promise you. So, same thing with our little one here. You may find it only works on one side. That's okay. If it's a small little tiny leaf, sometimes it's really hard to get in there. But that's all right. You can just add little squigglies. Squigglies are wonderful things. So I'm going to, don't forget, some of these little leaves need a center vein. So you can just stroke that in. There we are. And almost done with that little squiggly bit. And this one needs a little oomph. There we go. So to finish off those strawberries, we're going to come in with that extra fine detail liner, that extra long detail, not extra fine. And we're going to put a highlight on that dry brush. And we're just going to do that with a fine white line right in the center. Just like that. It's a very light little crosshatch. Don't overthink it. There we go. And don't worry if it's not perfect. It doesn't need to be. So this is just your simple little highlight. That's so it punches those strawberries up, is that very tiny little bit. So, oh, I know what I missed. I missed something. We have this. I love my curlicues. There we go. So I'm going to dry this really well. And then we're going to talk about that lettering. Here we go. I like it. So, I'm going to, pardon me, I'm going to put some pens away and put some brushes away because I have brushes galore out right now and I'm only going to be using one. So, it'd be a good idea to put some away, put my pencils away. Going to use a 3/8 angled shader and I'm going to be using a number 2 rigger. So when it comes to lettering like this, we need to give it a little bit of a shadow just to lift it up a little bit. So we're going to be using, because I no longer have any Prussian blue, we're going to be using a little bit of Payne's Gray. And we're going to put a float of Payne's Gray up against the right side edge. Like so. Nice little float of Payne's Gray. And that includes those little lines. Right side, right side. Don't forget that little one. Little bit under the bottom, like that. Now, it may not seem like much, because when you look at it, you figure, ugh, really? However, if I were to just go ahead and paint my lettering without putting that shadow in, it tends to look a little flat. This is called Hand Script, is the name of that font, Kathy. I do believe I got that one at fontbundles.com. I get most of my fonts there. I liked this one. It kind of fit with a, like I said, like a hand script, like a handwritten script. But it also has a vintage feel to it that I liked. So, oh yeah, as I was saying, whenever I do a lettering like this, if you just went ahead and painted it, it would look fine. The downside is that it has a tendency to look a little flat, like it's just sitting there. With that little shadow, it just gives it a little more depth. And it doesn't have to be a big shadow either. A little one just gives the letters a little more oomph, a little more pop, if you will. So I'm going to rinse my brush. Now I'm going to be using a number 2 rigger. The rigger that I'm using is actually a Gray Matters. Oh, sorry, it's not a number 2, it's a 0. I'm a big fan of riggers. I use them a lot. I use the Dynasty Faux Squirrel riggers. They're my favorite. The one that I'm using here is a Jack Richardson. This is a Gray Matters. These ones are very nice too. I'm just waiting on an order because my other rigger has had the biscuit. So this lettering here, the strawberries, the word strawberries, is going to be done with warm white. And I'm going to be using my Jo Sonja Fast Dry Glaze. I want this paint to move. So I'm going to start at the top of the letter. Oh my goodness, I didn't do that very well. There we go. Not quite enough paint in that brush. Now I'm going to try and do this in one coat. Lisa, the biggest part of working with a rigger, honestly, and where people struggle the most is getting the paint the right consistency. It isn't the brush as much as it is the right consistency. And it does take a lot of practice, I'll be honest. It's not something that just happens overnight, but it does improve when you have the right brush. You also, like I said, getting that brush loaded with the right consistency for the paint is perhaps the most difficult part. It's the same with floating, it's the same with doing line work. Getting it so that the paint comes off the brush the right way, that is what takes practice. Getting used to the brush is just brush control. And that again is just practice. But the biggest part of using a rigger is less to do with learning how to move the brush and everything to do with getting the paint the right consistency. And it needs to be a little thicker than milk. Just a little. And I'm having trouble with the rigger today, but it's me, not the brush. I'm going to see if I've got another one. Et voila. That was a little too stiff for me today, I think. Oh, definitely. That's what it was. My brush was too stiff. Oh, yeah, that was definitely it. Yes, my my Gray Matters brush does a very long handle, and I'm much more comfortable with a short-handled brush, but the hands aren't working as well as they should today. You know what, it makes a world of difference when you've got the right brush in your hand for this. And I love a good rigger. But mine are, I am overdue for getting some new ones. I have about 10 of them and they're all in about the same shape right now. They're in pretty rough stays. Oh, you know, I think we all have that issue, Denise. You know, I can't float today. I can't do line work today. I think that is just a thing. But lettering is one of those things that everybody struggles with until they practice it. It's just like learning to write or learning to print with a different type of pencil. You know, it's not something we were necessarily taught to do, but it does take practice. Here we go. I love lettering. I always have, and I think that comes from my love of advertising art too. There's something about lettering. It's as much an art form as the painting, to be honest. So I'm going to start over here. And it takes practice. Like anything else. I've got a little icky piece here. There we go. There's a couple of little spots here I have to fix because I was using the other brush and it wasn't working for me today. So I need to tidy up just a little. Now I have the word fresh up here. And I'm going to use a little bit of this because I needed a blue in here. So I'm going to use a little bit of Williamsburg blue. 9-year-old. I think 9-year-olds can operate, you know, NASA level computers too. I just think it's in their genetics. So I'm going to dry this before I end up putting my fingers in it. And I got to put the dot over the eye because I forgot that. You know, I love lettering. It's just, especially when you consider that we all learn to write. And why lettering terrifies us the way it does is beyond me. But it does. It terrifies us. There There we go. So, look at that. Got the word fresh in there. I'm going to come back in with a liner and a little bit of warm white. We're going to highlight the word fresh a little bit with a little bit of white. Just a little line of it. Oh, goodness. You ever have a day? I'm having a day. Like I said, I've had a week of Mondays. I had put it up on my Facebook page earlier this week. Does any, if every day is a gift, does anyone know where I can return a Monday? I was dead serious. I grabbed the wrong liner brush. There we go. So on all of the verticals, just on the right side or the left side of it, I'm going to put a little stroke of warm white just to give us a little highlight. Just to make that lettering pop out of there a little bit long. Every day, I hear ya. Yes, I haven't put the crossbar in. There we go. Yes, liner work does scare people. I'm going to use my liner to paint that dot over the eye because otherwise I'll forget it. Okay. Not bad. Not bad at all. So I'm going to do something now that's going to scare you even more. Remember our little sander? So on strawberries, I'm just going to gently sand my lettering. And I'm following that vertical line just like this. Don't be scared. I just want to bring it in line with the rest of the lettering. Make sure that's dry, or with the rest of the piece. So I'm just very lightly distressing the lettering. Then I'm going to take a high-tech applicator. And I'm just going to moisten it. Here we go. Look at that. Ta-da. Now it's all distressed and it matches the rest. Here we go. I'm going to dry that really well, and then we're going to take our angled shader and a little bit of asphaltum. And Renee is going to get the wheel ready. So I'm going to put a float of asphaltum all the way across the bottom of these letters. And if you have a question, Renee will let me know. Little float like that. This is just going to bring that lettering in line with the tone of everything else. And that shadow should only be about 1/3. Oh no, it must have just frozen.
Give me a second. Here we go. We're back.
So, nice little float of asphaltum all the way across the bottom of the lettering. It's going to come up about 1/3 to halfway. And then we're going to dry that. And I seem to have misplaced my stencil. Okay, where did it go? Okay, I had it here. Ivy Marie.
What are you looking for?
I had a stencil here a minute ago. And I don't know where it went. Oh well, I'll have to find another one. There it is. Okay, so I've got a 1/4-inch check stencil. And I'm going to turn it on the diagonal because I kind of like that. And we're going to use a little bit of cobblestone. I don't want to use anything white because I think the white is too harsh. So we're going to go with cobblestone. I think I need a clean palette because I can't find room here to do this. There we go. So a little bit of cobblestone on the palette. We don't need much. And a stencil brush, 1/2 inch to a 1 inch is fine. You're going to load it up until it's almost dry. You do not want this wet. We don't need a ton of it. So blot it on paper. And then we're going to just loosely put in a little bit of those checks, just loose. They don't have to be perfect and they don't have to be complete. So we've got a nice little bit there. I'm going to do a little bit here in this corner and across. Again, incomplete and imperfect. And a little bit here. Oops. See? Another oops. I didn't quite go far enough over. Here we go. So it's very light touch. We don't need to have this perfect, but that pattern just sort of pulls everything together. So that is your grounding design. This brings top and bottom and pulls that design together quite nicely. So the only thing remaining for you to do with this piece is to spatter it. And I love my spatter. Now I need a little bit of asphaltum and a little bit of either soft black or lamp black. You can use either one. Since I have soft black sitting in front of me, that's what I will use. And you can use warm white. But because I've already got a little bit of cobblestone on my palette, that's what I'm going to use. So thin a little bit out, pick it up on your favorite fugly brush, and you're just going to spatter lightly. By lightly, I mean fine droplets, not big droplets. Then rinse your brush. Do the same thing with asphaltum. Now the thing about this is that if you like a lot of it, you do you. I actually like a fair amount of all of it. But the one that I tend to gravitate to using the most is the lightest value. And in this case, I'm using that cobblestone because I like that little bit of lightness in there. It keeps everything from looking a little too heavy. Et voila.
Carol's asking why your incompletes look better than hers.
I like when you're stenciling and having something incomplete, just let it fade out. It means using a very dry brush, very little paint. So to finish this, all you have to do is hit it with 1 or 2 light coats of Decor matte spray or something similar. And then you can go ahead and varnish it with your preference, obviously. For the back, if you want to finish up the back, my personal choice, I like the backs done in black. But that's my thing. For this one, you might have noticed, because of the distressed edge, I just left it as is. Because when we put that border on, when we split the brush, we got yellow on the edges, but it went on unevenly. So when we were distressing, it just matches the front really nicely. So we've got a front. So all I would do to finish the back is to paint it black. And that way, if you're giving it as a gift, you can use a white paint pen or a white gel pen to put a little note on the back. But all I need to do for this piece is to sign it. So I'm going to put my scribblature in the lower right-hand corner, as always. And there you go. Fresh strawberries.
Yay.
To the wheel, my good man, to the wheel. So for today's giveaways, we have 2 of them. And enclosed in that is a lovely wooden frame with a back piece, a nice little surface that you can paint, plus a 4-brush set of Dynasty Faux Squirrel brushes. I got it mixed up again. And some other goodies that both Renee and I have popped in there, as well as one of the stickers for our new zombie cookie. So we have one of those in there as well.
Get your voodoo doll handy.
I've been using it. This is Microsoft today. And don't forget, guys, you've got a 15% off coupon on the website. If you're looking for it, it's at the very top of the homepage. And you just copy and paste it into your shopping cart when you check out. Don't be afraid to use those coupons. I highly recommend it. And all of those coupon codes, again, one for Deckwort, which is Tracy M15. I have one for the Brush Guys, which is Tracy M. So put them to use. If you need those things, a little discount will not hurt.
You ready?
I'm ready. Spin that. Nancy Ficardi. Nancy McNeil Ficardi. Awesome. You could always use more brushes, right, Nancy?
There we go. There's one.
And the next one. I'm squinting because I'm trying to I'm trying to see the wheel way over there on that other monitor.
She says no comment. And
Leslie Murillo.
yay.
All right, ladies. Nancy, you don't have to send me your shipping information. You do not need to ship. Oh my God, my mouth does not work today. Nancy does not need to send me her shipping information. I know where you live. I have hers on there. Leslie, if you see this, pop over to my website at tracymoreau.net and click on the little speech bubble or click on Contact Us at the top of the webpage and send us your shipping information so we can get your goodies out to you as soon as possible. Remember, if you don't send us your shipping information and we don't hear from you, after 2 weeks, everything goes back in the bin. So, excellent. So Leslie Murillo and Nancy McNeil Ficardi are our winners today. Thanks so much for watching, everybody. We appreciate it very much. If you're not subscribed to my YouTube channel, please do so. Click on the big red subscribe button on Tracy Morrow Design on YouTube and turn on the bell notification so that you know when we go live and when we post new video. If you're watching from Facebook Live, from Tracy Morrow Live, don't forget to go over to the Tracy Morrow Live group and ask for admittance. It's a private group and we would love to have you. And if you haven't done it already, please hit the follow button on all of my Facebook pages. I would appreciate that. It's what keeps the lights on, as they say.
Cindy says words are hard.
Words are really hard today. It's like my brain is unplugged. But not the part where I paint. That part's never unplugged. ever. All right, guys, next weekend we're going to be doing a big cabbage rose on a decoupaged background. I think you're really going to love it. It's one of my new decoupage papers, and I've had way too much fun designing those. So I'll see you next Saturday right here, 12 noon Eastern Standard Time. And warm up your paintbrushes. We'll see you again soon. Mwah. Love you. Stay safe.
Pet your dog.
And pet your dog.
The whole dog.